guys, welcome to a new episode of Digital Nomad Talks. In this episode, we will be speaking about working in different time zones, and I'm really happy because today I have a time zone expert, digital nomad Anna. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today and taking the time. In Digital Nomad Talks, I'm basically interviewing other nomads and just speak about their daily life hacks, their struggles, their challenges, to help you to become successful in being a digital nomad, and very important to make this lifestyle sustainable.
Yes.
So, okay, so let's start the show.
I'm so happy to be here. So I have a varied background. So I grew up in South Africa. I'm originally Ukrainian, so I was born in Ukraine, primarily grew up in South Africa. The last 10-12 years I've been traveling and working all over the world. And the last 3 years I've been full-time kind of digital, online, can work from anywhere. And I absolutely love it. So I get to travel a lot, meet a lot of people. The first time when someone's like, hey, what do you do? Sometimes I'm tempted to say that I juggle time zones for a living. I specialize in human behavior, and I help people grow their virtual teams. So a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in their business, and then their business becomes them and they have no time. And even if they're traveling, how many digital nomads do you see here in Canggu? And they like, even when they're in paradise, they're working like 24/7, right?
Yeah.
That happens. That is like a real thing.
So one of the $1 million questions is, how do you make money? Because that's something that everyone wants to know, like, how do nomads actually make money?
Okay, that is such a brilliant question. People are learning to trust people virtually as well, more and more.
Yeah,
like,
very important point.
Years ago, even when I started, people were like, what is this? Do you know what I mean? And then I started working with people online for like 6 months, 12 months, and then only like after 12 months, I'd meet them in person. But we'd been like, you know, really kind of like, and you'd feel like so close to somebody, and it's so awesome. But it wasn't like this like a few years ago.
Okay, cool. So basically, do you have like a training program, or how does it work?
Yes, I work inside several training programs as part of their coaching team, and then I also have my own, and I have private consultations as well. So in my own program, I take my entrepreneurs from earning a couple $1,000s a month to like couple $100,000 a month, and then grow their teams from like 1 to 2 people and no people to like 10 people, 20 people. So really like that growth stage of like, you know what you're doing, you have some clients, but you don't know how to like hire people and then get people on board and stuff like that. So we work on that specific growth phase. So the first thing is always planning. So you know where you're going to be in the next couple of months, because people, your clients, and especially in your programs, they're going to want consistency. So they don't want you to go like one day you're here, another day you're there. They're going to want you to be consistent. A couple things. Number one, I always bulk my busy days. So my busiest days are only 2 to 3 days a week, where it's like super, like I've just, all my meetings, all my trainings and everything is bulked together.
So it's like packed.
It's packed. So I bulk my stuff, I plan ahead, and also, you know, be conscious. You do have to kind of have that forward thinking in a sense, and then commitment to your work. Looking ahead is always important. So on a Sunday, I kind of know what my week looks like. The night before, I know what my following day looks like. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I know some people will like wake up and then figure out their day then.
Yeah. But do everything on the fly.
Do everything on the fly. And it can work for some people, but I know that like, you know, my mornings are reserved for like meditation and working out. Like that's very important for me. And then I can get my day started and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll take half a day and go surfing and do like cool shit, and then work in the afternoons and evenings and stuff like that. So it is, for me personally, it's still quite varied. Like I said, I have 2 or 3 days a week where it's just like back to back, packed, and then the other days are a little bit more flow. But I make sure, because at the end of the day, if I don't have like my health and my mindset isn't right, then like I can't serve my clients. Like no amount of travel is going to make me happy. So that is like one of the most important things, and especially having that kind of consistency when you travel, because it's really easy to kind of let it go and go like, oops, I'm going to do it tomorrow, and then like 2-3 weeks later, you're like, oh, you know, I was going to do yoga every day and now I'm not.
I hear that a lot.
And I've been there. I've totally been there, and it's always like difficult to get back into it. But if you like kind of commit to that consistency, no matter what, look after your mind, look after your body, and then you can start like really being productive in your day, whatever that looks like for you, that's really important. Really know what's good for you and stick with that. Without someone telling you what to do. Because like in a job or in a normal kind of world, it's like someone's telling you what to do when, and a lot of people are addicted to that, and it's easier. Whereas when you like step out of that and you can do anything at any time kind of thing, you really have to be like have that level of focus and discipline, and it's from an emotional level, it's from a spiritual level, it's from a mental level and a physical like health level, and all those levels. And then you have a business to run. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like the business plus all these other things that are going on at the same time. So what people don't kind of know going into the whole digital nomad space is like, oh, I'm just gonna like work from anyway, but like really work on yourself so much.
Be more mindful about like yourself.
Sometimes that does mean that you're working at 5 a.m. in the morning or at midnight or something like that, and that is the price that I personally pay sometimes, you know, because like I do like to travel and I do like to be in different time zones, but that doesn't mean that my clients have to pay for that. So in terms of like, it's amazing, but also like sometimes that you have to sacrifice, you know, and then like on a Tuesday night you're working late and whatever, and like sometimes I'll tell my friends, I'm working late tonight, and they'll be like, oh shame. I'm like, no, not oh shame, like I like working when I'm working. Like, if you're committed to your clients and what you're going to give them, then you're just going to have to do whatever it takes, you know what I mean, and then deal with it. But it's so nice in Bali where I meet so many people. Some people like work in like entire night times, you know, because they want to work with the US or whatever, and they just committed to their work and their output and their outcome and all that stuff, and that's the most important thing. And sometimes I'd have to kind of like create a meeting for everybody, and that
sounds really challenging.
It is very challenging, and most of the time I have to be honest, I bite the bullet. So if I'm the one that has to have the meeting at my time 11 p.m. then I'll do that, because you have to kind of take care of your team first.
If
you take care of your team's going to take care of you, right? Other times you do have to split up your teams and say, I'm going to have a meeting with the US office then, and with the European and Australian teams like another time, you know, so sometimes you have to split it up. Then I have a combination of like meetings that I have to show up to, which are pre-scheduled either like weekly or monthly or that week kind of thing with clients or groups or teams. That's obviously done, and then I also have a batch of work that can be done anytime. Now I personally find that batch of work to be more challenging, because I'm like, oh, I can like, you know, do cool things with Nienke today, and like, you know, and I'll do that tomorrow. And
there's like
that.
less commitment, less pressure, but it still needs to get done. But
because it's so easy to just get wrapped around and just like travel adventure, and not actually focus on what's really going to make you happy in your business and your life, you know? So there's this statistic that by 2025 or something like that, about 50% of the American workforce is going to be freelance or like, you know, working more independent. That doesn't mean they in different time zones. That sometimes can mean they can sit at home in their, you know, wherever, but that still means that they are remote, right? That presents new challenges. So that means, especially when I work with helping people grow their teams, you have to start understanding people better, because it's one thing to walk into an office and like have your room of people and know who's doing what, like what motivates them, what's their energy like that day, how are they performing and all that stuff. If you can see it, it's easier to manage. But now we're moving to a world where, number one, you can't see that stuff, so you have to be able to understand people better. You have to be able to trust people better. Your shit has to be so like on point. I like, for every 10 things I try, one will work out. So when it comes to greatest failures, I've been fired from jobs. I have like launched shit that didn't work and just blew up in my face. I've spent like tens of thousands of dollars on a business that didn't work. So there's quite a few. My biggest failures, I think, are my failures to maintain good relationships. So if I ever have like a business, which is very rare now, which used to be when I was a bit younger, where I was just ignorant of the power of relationships and business partnerships, is when that blows up or doesn't work out, that it's like the relationship would fall apart and I'd lose that person in my space, if that makes sense. And at the end of the day, whether you are local or international, virtual or not, the people that you surround yourself with and the people who are in like behind you and supporting you are going to be your number one important thing. Do you know what I mean? This is what's so awesome about communities like here and meeting people like you and everyone, is that like we're all supportive of each other. So this is a little bit personal because I have a lot of friends at home who kind of like look at my lifestyle, and some of them voice it and other of them kind of like don't say anything, but I can feel that they're like, how are you doing this, you know? Or like, how, like, it's unfair that you get this lifestyle and I'm sitting at home in my shitty job and da-da-da-da. And what people don't realize is that it's accessible to everybody. You just need to kind of like make it possible for yourself. So it's like, hey, if Anna can do it, I can do it too. Hey, like, let me ask. But you know what, one of my bigger problems is that people like look at what we do as nomads and they like judge you, but then they won't actually ask you like, hey, how did you get started, or how did you do this, and they'll just like sit back and all that stuff. Whereas if you actually look at the steps that you can take, there's tons of like free courses, paid courses, there's lots of resources online to figure out like how to do this. Anybody with like half a brain can like upskill themselves in the next 6 months, and if you really want to travel and become independent, location independent, everything, you can do that. Other thing that does kind of bother me in the space a little bit is like, people sometimes underestimate the loneliness that happens in digital nomads. And while we can like on the surface like laugh and have great times, sometimes those friendships like still feel like it's great, but there's something missing. And then you kind of still feel, even though you're surrounded by lots of people, you still feel like you're by yourself.
I think especially in places like Canggu, there are like 100 friends on offer. Or maybe even 1,000, but really meaningful connections. You have to put some investment in that.
You have to work on it. Like, so
it doesn't just fall from the sky and it's like, oh, I have meaningful connections.
And that, but what I'm also finding is the more we talk about it, the easier it gets, because for a long time I didn't really have anyone to talk to about this, and like how lonely it gets and how I feel like I have to figure everything out by myself and everything, and then it goes back to like, you know, hanging around with other people. And so over the past 3 years I kind of like started piecing it together, but at first like it sucked lots of times, you know what I mean? So really having like that view, and then going like, okay, like that's okay, and if I work on these connections and I become like really good friends with people, and I'm a good person myself, that's important, then it can get like more like collectively fun.
This comes all down to Digital Nomads Daily. I don't want to create a place with just saturated content. What I'm really passionate about is to really like dive deep into what do all these people know, and what can we learn from it, and how can I collect the stories, the wisdom, the love, the passion, all these things into a place, so that's Digital Nomads Daily, that it can be meaningful and be useful and has a lot of purpose to other people. So my biggest dream is to sort of like create a collective from real nomads, and just make this happen, and just be sort of like a foundation for others people's success. Okay guys, well, thank you so much for being here today and taking some time off your work and just to share like this very, very valuable knowledge. Guys, if you have any questions for Anna, for me, or any topic that you would like us to cover, just put them below in the comment box. I hope to see you next week, and thank you so much. See you!
Thank you! This is so much fun.